Welcome, everybody. I'm Julie Harris, and I'm the Executive Director of the River Discovery Center. And I want to introduce our other VIPs here. We've got Mayor Brandy Harless, Judge Clymer, Calvert City's Mayor Lynn Jones. We have Seth Wheat from the state. We've got Chris Freeland, who's the state representative for Marshall County and a little bit of McCracken County. And we have other elected officials from both Calvert City and the city of Paducah here, so I want to thank them for taking time out of their day to join us. Thanks to all the ambassadors that came and other members of the city's staff. And other members of the Calvert City community who came to join us. I want to thank everybody for coming for this exciting announcement about Calvert City and Paducah and McCracken County's enrollment in the Tennessee RiverLine's RiverTowns Program. While I have worked closely with the city and county over the last year and a half when Paducah was named a pilot community, my role today is as a member of the Tennessee RiverLine Partnership, something I've been a part of since the idea began 4 years ago as a vision for North America's next great regional trail system of hiking, biking, and water recreation experiences along the 652-mile Tennessee River, which passes Calvert City before ending here in Paducah. The economic and quality of life benefits of the Riverline cannot be understated, and the commitment of Paducah and Calvert City to this strategic initiative will have real and measurable impact on the vision for the Riverline. I'd like to introduce Mayor Harless.
Good afternoon, everyone. You okay? It's a beautiful day. I think we gotta hurry in case it rains on us though. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm looking around and seeing so many partners who believe in this. I think all of us have had an opportunity over our lifetime to reflect on this body of water behind us and the many bodies of water that feed into our community. It is such an important thing for us to recognize how important the river is to our commerce, but also the opportunities it presents itself is in recreation. I want to say welcome to Calvert City Council members and the mayor. I was telling the mayor I have deep roots in Calvert City. My mom retired from one of those plants and my dad lives there. And so I have been watching the progress of your pathway. It's so beautiful going to the lake. And I cannot wait for us to connect our cities together somehow in the future. So welcome here today. I wanted to say just two things. One, I want to make sure that you all understand the goals for Paducah-McCracken County as it relates to being involved in this program. This is definitely a long-term goal. This is a vision that will last probably throughout all of our lifetimes and beyond, and that we will begin to see the recreation opportunities grow in Paducah and Calvert City. But I wanted to just take a moment to celebrate something. I first think we owe a huge round of applause to Julie Harris, and don't do it yet. I'm going to tell you why. Because Julie Harris has been a part of this conversation since day one, and I firmly believe is the reason why when you see this logo that says 652 to you, that Knoxville is on one end of it and Paducah-McCracken County is on the other. So will you give her a round of applause for her efforts? So let me just take a moment to read to you the three main goals that we have as participants in this program. Number one, and I think we're starting that here today, is to build regional collaboration to market local assets of Paducah and McCracken County and to share technical knowledge between community leadership as it relates to recreation on our waterways. To demonstrate the value of local assets to our community members and once again celebrate this asset that we have here in a different way than maybe we have before. And to create a vision for capitalizing these assets such as shared waterways for both commercial and recreational use. So this is such an important moment. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for believing in the importance of this. And I hope this is going to be a slow build, and I hope that you will keep your fervor up for this and continue to support it as we move forward. And with that, speaking of partnerships, I'm going to introduce my kayak partner, Judge Clymer.
Well, good afternoon. I always hate to follow the mayor. She's so organized and throws it all out there. She asked me a while ago, "You got something to say?" I said, "No, but I'll come up with something." I'm excited too about this project. I grew up, spent a lot of time as a child on the river. I remember, as some of you probably do, technically on the Ohio River, but right over here was a sandbar where people went to boat, swim, that sort of thing. I can remember very well being out here in the river, and we didn't have one of those fancy boards to ride on. We had a plywood sheet cut in a circle. And I remember so well when you would fall off of that thing, a lot of times it would take a plunge, and then you sit there waiting for it to shoot back up out of the water. There's a lot of history here in the Tennessee River, a lot of opportunities. The county has been actively setting the stage for promoting the Clarks River that feeds into the Tennessee. Just a few miles up right here is the Clarks River. You pass over it out there by Harned's Barbecue as you're going out of town. Along with Steve Irvin is here. He's our project manager. He has been instrumental in putting in some input takeout spots. One on Sheehan Bridge Road. There's one out the backside of Reedland Ballparks. One right here at Clarks River for people to be able to access the Clarks River as a tributary of the Tennessee. And so we also used to have a swim across the river. People would boat across. You have to get way up here because when you swim, the current carries you down. If you don't watch, you're down in the Mississippi. But so that's gone to put. One thing that people don't know is that I have the distinction. I think I told the mayor. I've got my picture on the flood wall up here. I had a friend that was big in swimming, and he was in that swim across the river, and everybody had to have a boat chaperone in case they got in trouble. Well, I had a 14-foot canoe. He weighed about 260 pounds, and so I remember telling him when we took off, I said, "You know, if you get in trouble, you're dead." And he said, "I know." So, but to you know, the cool thing to me is to think about 652 miles of the river. If you get a chance, get on the computer and look at how that river snakes around and see all the little communities, anywhere from little 100, 200, 300 people towns that are all the way around along the Tennessee, and that we have that sort of a thread that tie to those people of the Tennessee River. And so it's a great project, biking, hiking, paddling. Mayor and I, as she said, we paddled from here down to the boat dock back, I don't know, what was it, a year ago or about that. I've got a two-person kayak. I was in the back and she was in the front, and so the kayak was kind of going down the river like that with me in the back and her in the front.
And I did all the work.
And she, yeah, she said that's a, what's that word?
You were back like this.
Yeah. Since I was in the back, yeah, I could kind of relax and let her paddle. She could barely reach the water sitting. But it's a great asset. I would encourage everybody, if you're out and about, to check out those outtake spots. The Clarks is a real asset. And of course, we have the mayor here from Calvert City that's going to speak as well. And so I think it's neat that we have our neighbors. We can go. I think it would be a good objective, frankly, that I'm going to take on. I think when I finally retire one day, is to just go to some of those towns. The Muscle Shoals of Alabama is a cool place to go, right up the river here. And so let me introduce to you, am I introducing the mayor of Calvert? Yeah, Mayor of Calvert City. You can come up and say a few words to us, sir.
I'm going to have you hold the mic this time if that works for you better. Can you hold the mic?
Sure.
We're not hearing you in the back. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Calvert City has always enjoyed the initiation of dreams by the Tennessee River. It was Paducah-Calvert who floated down on a flatboat on the Tennessee River, landed at his 2,500 acres, and crossed over to begin what would become the city of Calvert. From that development, farmers took the initiative of using the bottomland for crop production. And in the early 20s and 30s, a gentleman by the name of Luther Draffin initiated the dream that that river could do more than produce crops. And with that, the Tennessee River and the Tennessee Valley Authority and Kentucky Dam and the industrial development of Calvert City began. And the Tennessee River, as you well know, plays a vital part in that development and its ongoing relationships. Calvert City is trying to rebirth again that dream, and we're doing it through walking, biking trails, and those trails, one being already finished at the state park, 7 miles. The trail currently underway is the expansion of that trail in and through the park, on the Grand Rivers, through land between the lakes, to Cadiz, Kentucky. Cadiz and Calvert City are partners, and our goal is within a reasonable period of time, for government sometime in the next 100 years, to have that walking bicycle trail from Cadiz to Calvert, 72 miles. Yeah, it'll happen. Cadiz is almost LBL today, and Calvert City is well on its way. So that's the Tennessee River. Those are the dreams that it births, and that's why Calvert City is such a fan of that dirty, stinky, fishy water, because we know it makes all the difference in the world, and we're glad to be a part of a river town. Always have been, always will be. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. Those were interesting things, and I learned a lot about the history of Calvert City, and I love what they're doing up there to advance the RiverLine's vision. Their landscape's a little different than ours, and I think it's really neat what they're going to have and offer for mountain biking trails. And I think the two communities together are going to feed off of each other and make this RiverLine even more successful. I wanted to introduce one other person before we conclude. Neil, raise your hand. This gentleman's name is Neil Moore, and he is definitely advancing our vision early. He is a canoeist. He arrived here yesterday and is leaving in the morning, and he is traveling on rivers all across the country, 7,500 miles from Oregon and ending in Pittsburgh? New York City at the Hudson River. So, how about that? It's a 2-year trip that will end in December of next year, and I had the pleasure of meeting him, and I just think that's an amazing journey. So you are activating the river like most of us have not done. So if you see on our banners behind me, you'll see celebrate, connect, and catalyze. We are in the celebration phase. And we're all going to be, over the next few years, working on the goals and strategy of the RiverLine's vision so we can get to the next step and where we'll officially become a river town. And before we finish, I wanted to introduce, and just raise your hand if you're here. I think several of you are. Each of the cities that are enrolled in the RiverTown have a leadership team, and ours in Paducah that will be joining me on that team are Katie Axt, who's a planner with the city, Amy Clark, who's the incoming parks director, Steve Irvin, who is the project manager for McCracken County, Matt Cherry, who's with Hoopers, and Jeff Cantor, who's an architect with PFGW. So we are working to include people from both the city and the county and our business community, recreation. We will quite possibly add to that team. This is a work in progress, and we appreciate your support, and stay in touch for exciting things down the road. Please feel free to pick up any of the information on the table. We have a great website, and it's TNRiverline.org, and it has a wealth of information. So I invite you to check that out. And I'm going to bring Katie up now to explain what we're getting ready to do.
Thank you, Julie. I think the weather is going to hold off for just a few minutes. We wanted to do a brief tour with our mayor and the mayor of Calvert City to kind of showcase the big projects that we've been able to implement on the river, and also to talk a little bit about our grand plans for the future activation of our riverfront, to continue to bring people to our riverfront and also to get them on the water. So please stick around. We're going to gather and probably just take a walk 1 block down to talk about the excursion pier, the completion of the greenway, and the further implementation of our build grant. So thank you so much for joining us.